Well, as I understand Islam, I want to say it's a very vast subject. And it is only in this connection that I worked for about 25 years on the Quran in order to find out what is that value system which is given in the Quran, and what are the laws that have been given, what are the Quranic teachings in various phases of life. But here, my point of view is what I have been able to understand as to what is wrong with Muslims now. Even with pious Muslims, the pious Muslims, I believe they are good intentioned. The only fault probably with them is that they do not understand the proper arrangement of values, proper arrangement of things, under any influences, whatever they may be. What I understand from the life of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and he is the Uswa Hasana, or the model. He is Islam personified. That there are certain conditions preliminary to be a Muslim. There are certain conditions preliminary to be a Muslim, just as there are certain conditions preliminary to get admission in a medical college. A person will not be admitted in any medical college if he goes just like that until and unless he has qualified in the preliminary in biology and so on. Those preliminary conditions are obtainable from the life of the Prophet ﷺ and from the manner in which he preached Islam. We are Muslims by accident. I will say it is not for the sake of smiling or laughing, it is a fact. We are Muslims because we were born in a Muslim home. Others are Hindus because they were born in a Hindu home, others are Christians because they were born in a Christian. How many of us there are who have actually devoted their time to understand as to what is the real problem, and whether for that problem we have got any particular solution in Islam which is not obtainable anywhere else, and therefore we ought to be Muslim. You see? The problem is not there before us, solution is not there before us, the goal is not there before us. It is only a sort of social approach. It is a sort of heritage. We have got this name Islam and we are Muslims, and we take pride in that, of course, and everything is there. What I understand from the life of the Prophet ﷺ, there should be three qualities before a person wants to even proclaim himself to be a Muslim in the genuine sense of the word. The Holy Prophet ﷺ, before he started his preaching, during the first 40 years of his life, of course, he was a Nabi when he was born, and even before that, as he said in the Hadith, that when Adam was not yet made, he was a Nabi. But when he gave the call to the people, when he started his mission, historical mission, before that, during those 40 years, we find three traits of character in the Prophet ﷺ which are very conspicuous. The first was that he was absolutely truthful. So much so that even his enemies said he is as-Sadiq, and they used to call him by that name. Then finally he came to be called with another name, Al-Amin, and then he was called As-Sadiq Al-Amin. The most truthful and the most trustworthy. The most honest. The man of integrity at the highest. These two qualities. Then the third quality we find in him, when he got his first wahi in the cave of Hira, and that extraordinary and supernatural experience that he had, he came with that under the emotional influence of that impact. He came to his wife, al-Mu'minin Khadijatul Kubra radiyallahu ta'ala anha. The words which she said at that time to him, words of consolation, there she mentioned that he was a person who was dedicated to the service of his fellow beings. He was an absolutely selfless person. He was all the time devoted to this task that he may be able to do good to others. These 3 points, these 3 characteristics are the preliminary qualifications to Iman Billah. If these qualifications are not there, and this is what the Quran has proclaimed, when in the beginning you will read the Quran, it says, although elsewhere the Quran says that it is a guidance for entire mankind, Hudal Linnas, but in the beginning it says that the Quran is the guidance only for the muttaqoon. Hudal lil muttaqeen, It is the guidance for those who are men of character. Those who have got the integrity in them, that they will be able to pursue that life, to pursue that code of life which God Almighty has prescribed here. It is only they who can really benefit. Now here, we have forgotten all this. We start in a very wrong way. We say, do you know the kalima? Yes. If not, I'll teach you. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasul. I'll teach you its meaning again, if I go further. Alright, this is the first lesson. The second lesson is 5 times prayer. That is obligatory. So many farz, so many sunnah, so many nawafil, and so on and so forth. Very good. Ablution, these are the arkan of ablution. Fasting during the month of Ramadan. Zakat, if you have some spare money, saved some money at the end of the year. Alright. Hajj. The lesson starts in this fashion and we reach nowhere. Although these foundations are most important, they are extremely valuable, but we do not understand the nature and the spirit and the meaning of these foundations of Islam. What is the implication of when we say La ilaha illallah? Can we still worship anything? Can we still worship even our ego? We cannot. We have sold ourselves to God the moment we say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. We don't have this thing in mind. You see? And so we carry on formally. And when it is said to the community that this is Islam, this you have got to do, they are not able to do it properly. They may do it just by way of habit or by way of rote. Some of them. And others don't feel inspired. Why should I pray? There are so many young men who come to me and they say, why should I pray? It is a sort of habit. I believe in God, that God is there. I said, God is only a regulative idea for you. What is God in your mind? In which God do you believe? He says, there must be some force which must have brought this world into being. That I believe. I said, that won't do, then you are not a Muslim. You are only a philosopher. You are believing in this thing from an academic point of view. In Islam, God is personal. And He wants you to cultivate a personal contact with Him. He says, Fazkuruni azkurkum. You remember me and I remember you. It is a personal affair in Islam. So Islam is based on communion. And the communion is not to be formal. As one of the great saints of Islam, Sayyidina Junaid, one day he was walking on the road and a Muslim was calling out, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, and this man was at that time in his ecstasy and a supernatural phase of mind, and so he went there and caught hold of his collar and he said, you liar! And the Muslim trembled. He said, I am saying Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, and this great saint is saying, you liar! You see? He said, sir, what do you mean? He said, I mean that you are saying that you bear witness that there is no God but Allah. How do you bear witness? The word is shahada. Shahada and shuhud and mushahada. You see? Unless you have observed God, unless you have seen God, how can you say that you bear witness that there is God? The man was not highly educated, but some highly educated person was standing by him. And he came forward and he said to the Muslim, why don't you say that I bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was a truthful man, and because he said that La ilaha illallah, therefore I believe in him. I have not seen God, of course, but I bear witness on that account. You see? Now, this thing, if you can teach a person, if you can teach a young man, the most modern type, ultra-modern young man, my dear brother or my dear son, there is God. And God is the end-all and be-all of life. If you want to acquire success or happiness or prosperity, whatever goods you want to acquire here or hereafter or anywhere, you can acquire it only from Him. So I teach you the method of acquiring it. Now here comes the problem of profit and loss, of benefit. Because it is the human nature, that if you can show to a human being that there is some benefit for a human being in a particular action which he might do, he will be inclined to do it. If you just say to him that it is something supernatural, you cannot understanding, my dear boy, it is a divine mystery, believe in it and you will be saved. It is very difficult to attract the attention of any modern educated person unless he has got the habit from olden days or something put into him through the milk of his mother. You see. That is different. These can only be exceptions, and there are only exceptions in my country, in your country. These young men would not like to come to the masjid. And when they will hear all this mischief, they will, even if they want to, they will never come. You see, because their minds are not of that type. So this thing has got to be taught. How to experience God. The Quran has said, the Quran has mentioned about two types of jihad. Jihad fi sabilillah, striving in the way of Allah, and jihad fillah, striving in God. These are two types of jihad which have been mentioned in the Quran. Striving in the way of God is to strive through your knowledge, through your influence, through your piety, through your goodness, through everything that you might have, through your money and so on, for promoting virtue and goodness. That is jihad fi sabilillah, in the way of God. But jihad fillah is something absolutely different. It is striving in God. What is striving in God? The striving in God is to acquire a direct experience of God, that He is there. And for this Islam came. For this Islam came, for this experience of God. And when you start for the experience of God, you will be starting with Iman, mind you. يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, that you start by believing that there are certain metaphysical or suprasensuous realities, unseen realities. You do the same thing, for instance, in exact sciences. Now the most exact science is mathematics. In mathematics there is a branch of mathematics which is called geometry. In geometry you start with a similar iman as you start in Islam. Geometry starts with the point. Isn't it so? Alright. That is the starting point of geometry, the point. But what is the point? A point is that which has no length, breadth and thickness. Then what it is? A thing which has no length, breadth and thickness is only conceptual, it is not real, material, physical at all. You see, but then you come to the next stage, the line. Then about the line you are told that a line is that which is an aggregate of points. Now the question arises in your mind. If a point does not have length, then 100,000 points cannot also have length, because it is minus length, minus plus minus plus minus plus minus plus minus is minus. Ad infinitum. So from where does this length come in the line? You define the line, that a line is that which is length but no breadth and no thickness. From where has this length come? The geometrician scientist, he will tell you, believe in it and you will be saved. Believe in it and you will be saved. Hold patiently. But that is the starting point. Then you come after the line to the square. A square is that which has length and breadth but no thickness. Alright. But ultimately it is constituted of lines, and lines are constituted of points, and a point has neither length nor breadth nor thickness. From where has length and breadth come into the square? He will say, my dear son, believe in it and you will be saved. This is the starting point. Alright. يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. You see, then a cube or a solid body is that which has length, breadth and thickness. But a cube is made up of squares, and squares are made up of lines, and lines are made up of points. So initially the cube or every solid body is made up of points, and a point is that which has no length and no breadth and no thickness. But the cube has got all these three. From where have those properties come? Now, after you have accepted this, then you start with practical problems, measuring the angles and the triangles and the squares and the beyond that the hyperbola and so on and so forth. Plane geometry, solid geometry, coordinate geometry, and you go there. And on that basis you are able to build up a whole science which is factual, which you can employ in your different fields of technology, You can do it. The same is the case with Islam. It starts from there. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمَنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Those who say, start with this, that there is a reality which is beyond our senses. Right? But has this reality to remain? No. It is not to remain as unseen. It must be experienced by you. That is why Islam came. You see, you must have an experience of God, who is the really real and the very foundation of all that exists. And intermediary stages of what are the angels and what is heaven and what is hell, and so many other problems that have been taught to us, which are suprasensuous, which are metaphysical, as they are called, beyond this physical world. They have got to be experienced. And now here, the most important thing is experience of God and transactions with Him and dealings with Him. He has invited us to it. For instance, He has made different promises. Those who do this, I'll do this for them. In an extraordinary manner, not in the natural way. Come on and test. You see, this is Islam. And prayer and fasting and all these things are a means to that end. They are not end in themselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never wants you to come and make a sort of gymnastic 5 times a day. It is useless for you and absolutely meaningless for Him. But it is the highest exercise whereby you can commune with Him. You must learn how to commune through this exercise. You must not be contented with merely the formal thing. I have read so many sunnah, I have read so many fards, and then I have read 100 nawafil, optional prayers which are not made obligatory, and I am a great man. You are nowhere. You are nowhere. You have wasted your energy and you have wasted your body. What we have been taught by the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that one sajda which is genuine, one prostration which is God, which is genuine, is equal to 100 years formal prayer. Better than that. That is what is needed. So we are given actually a practice in repetition. Maybe that sometimes we get the proper spirit and we acquire it. But if we don't have in our minds that our goal in prayer is to commune with God, if we don't understand that and if we don't regard that as obligatory, then we might live here in this world for 1,000 years and we might be praying all the time, not only 5 times a day but 10 times a day. We will not be able to get that communion. It will be a prayer, a formal prayer, very good.